All right, y'all. Listen, I want it all, okay? I want it all, and so should you. Can we have it all? Is the question that I think we tend to ask ourselves a lot, okay? And this is the reason why I love this show. What show? Reasonable Doubt. All right, so Reasonable Doubt is coming out with season 2 on August 22nd. So that's on Thursday. So I decided to get us prepared by doing a little overview of season 1. All right. So get ready. We're going to go through season 1 as fast as we can because there's so much that happened in season 1 and I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but we need this recap so we can be ready for Thursday. So let's jump into it right now. All right, from the clothes, okay, from the hair, okay, from the job, from the power, from the friends, from the everything. Jax Stewart is like the girl, okay? She is the girl, and she's the main character in Reasonable Doubt. Her real name is Emma Yahtzee Cornelli, and y'all, she is phenomenal in this show. So Jax is a big time defense attorney. Matter of fact, she is a partner at her law firm, which is, already, like big time black girl magic because I mean, think about it. A partner, a law firm, a black girl, it's amazing, right? She's a lawyer, she's a wife, she's a parent, she's a friend. Like, she is the quintessential black girl magic in every single way there is, okay? Now, the reason why this show is good, because from the love triangles to the secrets to the trauma to the codependency, we can all find ourselves in Jax in many, many ways. Even if it's just the fact of being a parent and juggling being a mom and working, okay, that one thing alone makes me just feel like I feel seen, okay? So let's just jump into it. So the show starts out with Jax tied up. She's been kidnapped. It's a dark room. She reciting scripture. And it made me laugh because it's nothing like when you get tied up in a situation and you start reciting scripture. You know things have gone awry, okay? So she's reciting scripture and everything. And it doesn't really show us who has kidnapped her in that first scene. But as the show goes on, I think we can kind of start guessing who may have been the person to kidnap her. So I'm going to give you a little background on everything that happened in that first episode so that we can jump right into like the basis of the show, right? So in the show, Jax is a lawyer and she handles big time cases, right? She's a defense attorney. She handles big cases, very, very notable people. And in this season, she's going to be representing a black male billionaire. And he is, y'all, a web of lies, okay, unfolds as she digs into this case. But while she's working and digging into this case, so many things is going on in her life as well. So her and her husband, Lewis, have been separated for a while. They're doing a trial separation. So he moved out and they both share the kids like part-time. All right. So because he moved out, he decided to hire security and put up cameras in the house and do all these things to try to make sure she's secure while he's not in the home. Meanwhile, Jax is like, well, I'll play that game with you. And she sleeps with the security guard that he hired. Okay. Now, this all happens in episode 1. Okay, all happens in episode 1. So, I mean, it's juicy. It's juicy, all right? But the thing that I wanted to point out, y'all, that caught my mind or caught my eye or whatever you want to call it, is the fact that the reason why Jax and her husband are not seeing eye to eye. And that's the thing that I really want to dive into a little bit. So Lewis, her husband, feels like Jax is no longer plugged into her family. She puts her job before him. She puts her job before everything else. She's so committed to her work that is taken away from their relationship. And so because of that, he gave her an ultimatum to basically say, is it either work or it's me? And I think she chose her job, okay, which is why he moved out. So her perspective, though, is that you knew I was a lawyer when you met me. You knew that I loved this job. You knew what my goals were when you met me. So why would you think that I would change or want to do something different or not choose my job or why would you even give me an ultimatum to have to choose between you or my job? Like, that's not fair. And so, and I can feel her, y'all. I feel both of them. This is a really good show to watch with your husband if you have one, or your partner, or if you thinking about getting married. Again, things to ponder, because it's so difficult when you have aspirations, right? You have your mindset on things, but you also have responsibilities to be a partner to someone else. All right, so that's the background on what they got going on. It's a lot there to unpack, and you start to see how their relationship is a little bit dysfunctional as the show goes on. So anyway, meanwhile, so Jack's got this big situation with this billionaire guy who she's trying to, her firm is representing. And meanwhile, she had a old love flame pop up out of nowhere. Okay, he pops up out of nowhere. His name is Damon in the show, also known as Michael Ealy. So if you know Michael Ealy, okay, light skin and eyes. All right. So he pops up out of nowhere. He calls her office to talk to her, and he's like, "Look, I'm getting ready to admit to doing this crime because I'm tired of being in jail. It's been 16 years and I want out." So Jax is like, "If you do that, I will never talk to you again." Now, let me give you a backstory on their love situation and their entanglement. So when Jax was a public defender, she got his case, Damon's case, and she tried to fight for him and get him, basically get him out of the situation that he was in. So he was on trial for murder, and he didn't do the crime, but she ended up losing the case, and he went to jail, and that was like detrimental to her self-esteem, her confidence, and it always haunted her that she lost that case. Meanwhile, while she was working with him, as a client, she began to develop emotional connection with him, and they like kind of started feeling each other. And so it went from being a client to being more than that, and they always had feelings for each other. But of course, she couldn't act on them because he got 16 years in prison. So that was prior to her getting married. So it's kind of like when you had that first love and when you were young and y'all kind of stop talking, and then you move on with your life and you get married and you have kids, and then out of the blue, he comes back up. So of course that's confusing, right? Because she's like, I moved on with my life, but I really did have feelings for him then. And then remember, she's in a bad place right now in her marriage. So the door to all of that is like kind of cracked open. All right. So I hope you're following me. So she's dealing with a big case at work. She's dealing with some issues in her marriage. And then all out the blue, an old love flame pops up. Okay. So now it became a love triangle grows. Okay. It's a love triangle here. And it evolves into something that gets out of control. All right. So I'm going to skip ahead. So let's get into the case that she's working on. So in this case that she's working on, Braden has been accused of sexual assault by his former employee. All right. Her name is Kalisha in the show. And Kalisha has threatened to make a public announcement about some of the things that she knows about his company, which would prevent his company from going public. And if you know anything about going public, you know that money is involved. So he wants to get an NDA signed by her to prevent her from disclosing any information that would be detrimental to his company or to himself. All right. He's a prominent figure, again, big time business owner, owns a liquor company called Clout. And he is just fearful that she's going to ruin his career and his reputation. All right. Not only does she have information about the company, but she also has accused him of sexual assault. Now, the thing about this case, though, y'all, is that they did, in fact, have an affair going on. Now, Braden is married. Okay, Braden is married. He got a kid. He got kids. All those things are happening with this guy. All right, this billionaire. But he has an affair with his employee, and their relationship gets rocky because, again, he didn't leave his wife, and she left her husband, and and she has information about him, and she also accuses him of sexual assault. So as you can see, it begins to get a little bit more heated between the two of them. They are estranged. Okay, they're not in a good place either. So the Kalisha does not want to sign the NDA. All right. She does not. She's like, forget that. I'm not signing the NDA. I don't care how much money is involved. I'm not signing it. Forget it. So because of that, Braden decides to take it upon himself to go to Kalisha's house to make her sign the NDA. All right. And that is where that's where the show gets like, who killed Kalisha? All right. Now, I just spoiled it for you because basically, after Braden goes over there that day, the next morning, Jax gets news that Kalisha is dead. So automatically Braden becomes a suspect in this because they know that she has threatened to go to GMA, Good Morning America, and tell everything she knows about the company. And so automatically he becomes the number one suspect. Okay. So at first Jax didn't really want to get involved in this case because again, it's sexual assault. It's a black man against a black woman. She feels the pressure to stand with her community of black women, but she also has a job to do. Now, the part that gets really good for me is the fact that with Damon, who was her former client slash little love interest that popped back up, he said to her, like, I know you love criminals. Like, you love criminals. This is what you like. Don't forget that I know you. And then it made me think, because at first she didn't want anything to do with Braden's case, but all of a sudden she was like, you know what? I'm going to take your case. And it made me think about that toxicity, right? Where a lot of us, we tend to run towards things that make us feel like we're saving people because that's just all we know to do. And as the show goes on, we begin to see how her past traumas and her past situations and her relationship with her mom and her stepdad, how that plays a role in who she is as a mom, as a wife, as a businesswoman. Okay. Now that's the thing. Remember in the beginning, I said, can we have it all? We can, right? But there are some things that are rooted inside of us that if we don't deal with, it all starts to come and it just like festers, right? So we start to see that evolve or that evolution of all the trauma coming back up and the blow up as the show goes on. Okay, so now she's representing Braden. Braden said he absolutely did not kill Kalisha, and so and Jax is trying to work the case and trying to get information and figure out things. But while she's doing that, she is now allowing Damon like into her life. So let me back up a little bit. So Damon pops up at Jax's church and she is like nervous. Like she sees him from afar and she's like, her heart starts beating. She almost has an anxiety attack because it's like, what are you doing here? Like, you're in my territory. My family's here. My husband here. Like, whoa. So she goes and confronts him. Like, why were you at my church? And he was like, well, your church is across the street from where I live. And she's like, you need to stay away from me. And he was like, well, you in my house, which she was because she went to go see him and confront him. Right. So that was kind of like, well, okay, maybe she is going to try to stay away from him. But no. From there, they end up going to get coffee. And it's something about when you let that door crack open just a little bit, it starts to get sticky. Okay. So the moment they went for coffee and they started talking was the moment that Damon thought that he was back in with her. Okay. From there, Damon then asks Jax to go to dinner. Okay. And Jax is like, okay, we'll go to dinner. They go to dinner and the check comes. Damon can't pay the bill because they don't accept prepaid cards. And that's what he had. I guess he just got out of jail. They don't accept that. It had to be a credit card. So Jax has to pay and he's upset. He's infuriated. And he's like, I'm going to mail the money back to you. Well, y'all, fast forward. He did not mail the money back to her. Instead, he popped up at her house. When he popped up at her house, she told him like, yeah, Lewis isn't here. We're separated. And he was like, well, I don't know what he did, but he was crazy to do it with his eyes. You know how Michael Ealy eyes are. And that was the moment that he knew he had a way in or he had a chance. Okay. That's what I think about that. All right. Meanwhile, while all of that is going on with Damon and her dealing with her old flame, Jax is also dealing with her mom. So her mom loves her. Like her mom loves her to death. I really do believe that. But her mom did not protect her. And we begin to see that along the way as the story develops. Okay. So her mom is one of those moms who is very, very opinionated, giving her opinion about her marriage, about Jax's marriage with Lewis. And she wants Lewis and her to be together and yada, yada, yada. She's just one of those people who just inserts herself in her relationships. But Jax has a she loves her mom, but the respect you can tell is like a little shaky. So as in the background, right? In the background of all these things going on, we learn that Jax doesn't really like her stepfather, Paul. Her mom was married, or her mom is married to Paul, who was a white man, right? And he was the one who raised and lived in the house with Jax as a kid. And for whatever reason, in the beginning, right? Because we find out later on in the season, in the beginning, I didn't know why she didn't like him, but I had a feeling. Like she just did not like him, didn't want to be around him. She got anxiety when she had to go to their house. It was just like you could tell it was something that happened in the past. And because of that, her relationship with her mom was so like strained, right? And so again, going back to the realistic issues and things that's going on in this show, she has to deal with the relationship with her mom, the relationship with her husband, her heart pulling towards someone that she had an emotional connection with 16 years ago when she was just fresh into her job. And then she's also a big time lawyer showing up at her job to try to fight a case for a black man who she doesn't even know is innocent. And also she's kind of feeling some kind of way about representing him because he's a butthole. Okay. Let me slide this in here. Braden, the black billionaire, is the kind of black man where we kind of don't like. Okay. So in their initial meeting, she tried to she gave him his kudos, like, oh, you're about to be the first black billionaire. And he was like, yeah. Like he kind of wasn't giving that warm, fuzzy vibe, like cousin. She was really like excited and, to see him and meet him. And he kind of was like, I don't really want to work with you. I want to work with Rich, your partner, who is a white guy. And so because of that, she kind of didn't really feel him. He was entitled. He was real like a butthole. And so she wasn't really even feeling him anyway. And so to have to deal with him is like kind of a bit, she doesn't really want to, but she's doing it because that's her job, right? And then the other part of her wants to deal with it because she's so used to solving problems. And we began to see that even more as things develop. So I'm gonna fast forward. So Damon, he ends up getting he has a PO, which is a parole officer or probation officer, and he does a drug test, and Damon, he says that something was wrong with the drug test, so he tears Damon's room up. And so who does Damon call? He calls Jax. He's like, hey, I need help. My PO just tore up my room and he went through my stuff. I mean, that's got to be illegal. And she's like, okay, I'll take care of it. So first of all, Damon don't have nothing to do with her job, nothing to do with her life. He popped up out of nowhere and Jax is ready to save him. Okay. It's Captain Save, So it's that same thing that we try to do. We try to help everybody else out. But meanwhile, your marriage is falling apart, sis. Okay. You got a busy case at work. Okay, sis. And then not to mention her kids. So as everything is going on, her two kids, she has a son who's a teenager, a daughter who's a little bit younger, and they're dealing with the separation in different ways. So the son, I believe, blames his mom. So he's giving her all kind of attitude. He barely want to talk to his mama. He want to go stay at his daddy house. And, all the things that happen with teenage boys and teenagers in general. He's like giving her a hard time, right? So I know her feelings are a little hurt with her son anyway. And then her daughter, as things are going on, her daughter gets her period. And when she gets her period, Jax is in court. So she doesn't see her phone ringing and Lewis is calling her and texting her. And she gets out of court and she sees that Lewis has decided to take her daughter to the doctor. And so she flies to the doctor and she gets there and she finds out that she started her period, and the guilt, right? The mom guilt of being at work and this big moment is happening. And it's like this tug at your heart because you're like, dang, I want to be there for the big moments, but I also have a job to do. And that's the thing, y'all, again, about wearing hats and the balance. It's like, dang, you can never be enough for every single thing. You can only do your best at giving things what you can give it at the time. Okay. So anyway, her and Lewis come together to support their daughter, which I thought was a beautiful moment. And throughout the season, you see where Lewis and her, they still love each other because every now and then they kind of get together and they almost like have sex or whatever, or they have this moments together. So love is still there, but it's just toxic because they get to cussing and fussing and yelling at each other at any moment, right? So to see them come together for their daughter was the moment of like, we love each other and we love our daughter, and we gonna do whatever we can for our kids, which is what we do, right? So they come together, they talk to their daughter about her period, her body changing, and her body getting ready to have a baby. And that sparks the daughter to ask, like, well, if I can have a baby, how does it get in there? So they end up having to have a whole conversation about sex. Can you relate? I can relate because I have a daughter, and it turns into like a big conversation that they didn't know that they were going to have. So when they got done with the conversation, it was such a moment of them sitting on the couch like, whew, like, hey, man, this is crazy. And if you have kids and you have a partner, sometimes you do that. Like, you look at each other and you're like, dang, man, this is a lot. We just went through a lot just now. And you have each other to like lean on. And I just love that moment between the two of them where it's like partnership of like dealing with hard things together. And it just shows why, they still need each other. Okay. But the part that after that, Jax is in her daughter's room and she's cleaning up her laundry, and she picks up panties and they had blood on them from, their old panties, and they had blood. And she's like, how long has this been going on? And the daughter was like, it's been going on for a while, but I just didn't want to say anything because I knew you were busy and I didn't want to, bother you. Y'all, devastation. Jax felt devastation. Okay. When she was like, baby, like I'm never too busy for you. So for her daughter to think that she couldn't talk to her mom because she was busy, that hurt Jax so bad, like to the core. And when she came out in the living room and wept and cried, it just like, I could cry right now watching that, because it's like, I don't want my kids to think that I'm not here for them, or I'm too busy to be there for them. Like, nobody wants that, right? And so in that moment of seeing her on the couch and just feeling defeated, it's just like, wow, like it was such a big moment for me watching that, because I remember traveling and for my job and not being able to be there for certain things for my kids. And it was just a really, really tough situation to be in. And you never want to feel like you disappointed or you wasn't there for your children in those big moments, especially. So as you can see, life is happening. The case is happening. The Damon is happening. And as the show goes on, Damon and Jax they start having sex. They meet up at hotels. They start having sex. And Damon is like, I want to be with you. And she's just like, what? Like, I can't give you anything. I'm still married. And he's like, but you're mine. Okay. Like, he's started getting crazy on her. So he begins to start like getting real big feelings for her, so much so that he goes through her phone, deletes messages out her phone, and pops up at her house while Will, remember the old security guard that was hired that she slept with on the first night, he came to her house to talk to Jax. And it just so happened as he was leaving, and nothing happened, leaving, Damon comes to the door. He sees him and he begins to beat him up. Like, he's fighting him, like ferociously fighting him. And he's like, you're mine. Like, y'all, picture you thinking you just having something casual with someone and they thinking that they about to be with you, and you don't even know them because it's been years, okay? Just emotional connection through a jail cell. And he is like now claiming you and wants you, and he's beating up somebody. So he's physically assaulting someone to say and saying that you're his. It's scary now. It's scary now. And remember in the beginning, I said she got kidnapped. Now, who y'all think did the kidnapping? You're right. Okay. So in the midst of all this chaos, the one I do want to point out, Jax is that girl who has a group of friends. They day one friends and they meet up periodically. And so she kind of shares things with them here and there. And, they're like her support system. And I love that, because I love seeing Black women together and the importance of female friendship. And it's shown and it's displayed as an example in this show. So I love the dynamics between her friends. And it shows like you got certain friends in the friend group you tell certain things to. You got other friends in the friend group you tell certain things to. You closer with this one, maybe closer with that one, but they all grew up together, right? And as the show goes on, that one friend in that friend group that she isn't really like, they kind of have a relationship, but it's kind of strained. That's the friend that she told her biggest secret to, like her biggest secret to. And that's also the friend who has some issues going on in her marriage. Her name is Chanel, and she's married to a football player, or at least a retired football player. And he's physically abusive and he doesn't respect her, but she wants to stay with him, of course, because that's just what, we tend to do. And the dynamics between their relationship is super toxic, okay? But Chanel is the one who's like making excuses for him and saying, men always get so much, they catch so much slack for cheating, but they don't get any credit for all the times that they got approached and they turned them down, like saying crazy stuff. And Jax is calling her out on it, and that begins like that causes a little rift between them too, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when you're a friend, you kind of end up saying things that you're thinking, but you don't think about the way you say it, and you hurt your friend's feelings. Well, that's what Jax did. When Chanel made the comment that, men don't get credit for the women that they turn down, Jax was like, dang, did he rehearse that line with you? Like, dang, I didn't know that he was that good, because he got you brainwashed to think that it's okay to have sex with somebody else because you turned down many other ones. No, like so she says that to her. So you can see the dynamics between them is a little bit like it's a little tension there between the two friends, but nevertheless, they're still friends. And again, this is the same friend that holds her biggest secret. So as the story goes on and as the season goes on, we learn that Jax was sexually assaulted by her stepfather, and in various ways. So her mom knew, and she broke up with him, but she got back with him. And that really hurt Jax. And it also hurt her relationship with her mom, because she felt like her mom chose her husband over her. And I love that they do a flashback to the moment where all these things happened in her childhood with her stepfather, because it allowed us to see the dynamics between her and her mom. And Jax ends up like soothing her mom after giving her the news or talking about what Paul did to her. So imagine you share with your mom that her husband has been inappropriate with you, and your mom is like sad and upset and hurt and whatever else and all those things. And instead of you getting to cry on your mom's shoulder, you are comforting your mom, saying, I'm here for you. Like, no, I feel some kind of way right now as I'm saying it. Okay. It was just like such a toxic moment. And you can see how that developed into trauma and the inability to trust people and the codependency to fix people, to lean on people. So in that same moment of her comforting her mom and a flashback, it skipped back to present day, and it was showing her comforting Damon, who had shown his butt when he beat up Will, and she's comforting him now. Like, he was like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what got the best of me. I'm not crazy. I'm not this person. I'm not a monster. And she's like, it's okay. It's okay. No, sis, it's not okay. And why are you comforting him? He just showed up at your house, beat up a innocent man who wasn't even there for you. He was just there to have a business conversation with you. And you're comforting him now, and you're trying to like make him feel better. Wow. How toxic is that? Right? Ooh, okay. So now let's get back to Brayden's case. So as this case is developing, Jax finds out that Brayden had forged the signature on the NDA that he said he got Kalisha to sign. So initially in that case, Jax assumed his innocence because Kalisha signed the NDA, therefore he wouldn't have motive to kill her, right? So she thought that was what it was, but she thought about how his behavior has been and how he tried to kiss her, right? Inappropriate, right? Now, this is her client. He tried to push up on Jax, and Jax, like, that triggered her emotions from her stepdad, right? And she just had this feeling about him that he's not a good guy, which led her to look at the NDA. When she looked at the NDA, she saw that it was in fact forged by him, and that's when she knew that he had murdered Kalisha. But her job, y'all, is to still defend, and she did. So Brayden gets off, but she lets him know that, yes, you did murder Kalisha, and I know you did. Okay. And Braden is like, well, oh well, like I'm good now. But y'all, but another part of what Kalisha knew, remember the information that she had on the company that she was going to disclose? She knew that the company had overvalued itself to be ready to go public, right? So that is illegal to in fraud to overvalue your company and go public. Okay, so because of that evidence that she had, as well as the fact that Braden's partner had been taking money from the company. Now, this is all the information Kalisha knew. Kalisha had all the tea, okay? Which is why, the partner didn't like her and Braden was, fussing her out and wanted her to sign the NDA. All the things, Kalisha had all the tea. So Jax collected all that information she had and anonymously sent that information to Kalisha's best friend who was advocating for Kalisha's justice, okay? All right, now I hope you're not losing me. So Braden and his partner own clout, and they were getting ready to go public. And when they went public, though, they overvalued their company in order to look better to other investors. Okay, that's illegal. Kalisha had evidence of that. She also had evidence of his partner stealing money from the company that she was going to tell Braden about. And the partner was mad and didn't want her to tell him the information. So as the season is going on, you're like, who murdered her? Everybody has a reason to be mad at her. The ex-husband could have murdered her. They think that the partner could have murdered her. They think that Braden's wife could have murdered her because Braden's wife did, in fact, know that he was cheating with her, but she didn't tell Braden that she knew. So it was so many things going on in that web. Okay. So it's just it's like, y'all, it's just so intense and it's so good. It's so good. Okay. So skip forward. Once she sends those papers to her friend reports that to the FBI or the IRS, whatever company that is. I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry. And they then go to Braden's office and he gets arrested for fraud. So even though he got off on that not guilty charge, Jax made sure that he still got what he deserved. Okay. Now, in the midst of Jax doing that, Lewis finds out that Jax is having sex and having an affair with another person. He doesn't know that it's Damon, but he knows that she's having an affair because he found out, like, her friend was talking to him about how happy she looked, and that made him think, like, why is she happy? Because we just fought last night. So because of that, he knew that something was going on and followed her to the restaurant that her and Damon were at. Okay. And so when he saw her with him, that was like, oh, F that. I'm going to do what I want to do. So Lewis started having sex with somebody else too. Okay. And then once he had a chance to tell Jax, he was like, look, I already went to a divorce attorney and, I'm just going to go ahead and go for it with a divorce. And have you ever been scared straight? So Jax didn't want a divorce initially, but when Lewis said he wanted it, it made her it shifted her. Like, it was like, whoa, no. Now, this is after Damon showed out on her. So she know he crazy. Okay. And she slept with Will, the security guard, just because it's just like my life is in shambles. My personal life is in shambles. Okay. So it's one thing to have your thing going on at work, but when your personal life is in shambles, it just really just takes you over the edge. So she has all these things going on and she realizes, like, I don't even want this. Like, I don't want all this drama. I don't want it. And when Lewis said something about divorce, he said the D word. Sis was like, no, like I don't want this. Like, I'm going to get myself together. Can we talk? Now she want to talk. She didn't want to talk before. And not to mention, y'all, she did not ever tell her husband about Paul, her stepdad, and the inappropriate behavior that happened when she was a girl. She never told her husband. Can you imagine carrying that type of weight on your shoulders, being sexually abused, and you never tell your partner? And you carry that around with you every single day of your life, and you're wifing with that, you're mothering with that, you're being a business partner with that, you're friending with that, meaning you're being in all these roles, but you're holding on to all this trauma and pain that no one knows anything about. Not even your biggest advocate, which is your husband. He has no clue. Like, that's a lot. And the reason why she didn't want to tell him is because she knew that he wouldn't want her around he wouldn't want her kids to be around her mom or Paul, the stepdad. And she just wanted to keep the harmony and peace. Once again, thinking about other people instead of herself. Okay, that's what we do. We got to be mindful of that. We got to be careful about that. We cannot put other people in front of us because our health is at stake. Our happiness, our peace is at stake. Okay, so, all right. So once Jax gets to the point of realization that, wow, my husband is about to divorce me, and she wants to then, like, I don't want any, I'm done with everything. I'm scared. She tells Damon that she doesn't want to do anything else. She doesn't want to go forward, and that, it needs to stop here. Okay. Y'all, Damon wasn't having it. We already know Damon a little crazy. All right. Damon has some mental issues, some anger issues, and he has been in jail for 16 years. Okay. And he is not having it. He thinks that she belongs to him, which is so crazy, y'all. Y'all got to watch it because it's like, how could you possibly think that? It's because he has mental issues. Okay. That to think that she belongs to him after just a little rendezvous and nothing else. Right. So towards the end, okay, now this is the last episode of the season 1. Damon hits Jack from the back. Okay, not that sounds crazy. Let me start over. Jax is driving her car. Okay, and she's leaving. I believe she was leaving court, if I'm not mistaken. And Damon runs into the back of her, knocks, so he rams into her. They get into a car accident. He gets out of the car and he muffles her, kidnaps her, okay, and takes her with him. And Lewis is so the reason why Lewis finds out her husband is because the babysitter is she never showed up. I don't know where she is. And so Lewis finds her car through technology. Shout out to technology. Thank you for technology. Finds her car, finds her wallet, her keys, her purse. Everything is there. So he knew something wasn't right. Long story short, they find out that she'd been kidnapped by Damon, and the police show up, and Damon then commits suicide. He shoots himself in the head in front of Jax. Can you say trauma? The show begins to transition out. At the end of the season, we get a little teaser for next season, which is season 2 that starts on Thursday. So I'm getting us ready. All right. At the end of this last episode, we see her friend Chanel, and she's calling Jax on the phone. And they also show Chanel with a black eye, and in the background, her husband, the football player, is laying on the floor in a pool of blood, and he's dead. So her friend just murdered her husband, and Jax is like, oh, shoot. And that's where everything ends for season 1. I hope I did a good job of giving you guys a good refresher on season 1. A lot of things happen. And at first I'm like, let me tell him about this. Let me tell him about that. But y'all, it's such a very meaty show within those 9 episodes that you got to go back and watch it if you haven't watched it in order to get all the nuggets, all the gems, because I rewatched the whole season and I still found things in there that were messages for women, messages for us as humans. It was such good gems in there. And so you got to go back and really, really watch it if you really want to get the experience of all the things that happened. But I hope I did a great job of giving you a recap, especially for those of us who watched season 1 a long time ago, because it's been 2 years, right? And you just needed to know where were we as we go into season 2. So if you have not started watching the show yet, now's a good time to binge watch it between the next couple of days so that you can be ready for season 2. While you're watching the show, I want you to check out the styling throughout the show so that you can kind of get some inspiration for your fashion, for your wardrobe, and your corporate environments, as well as your business meetings. I mean, I'm out of the corporate office, but I'm still a corporate baddie because I run my own business and I like to look sharp. I love creative looks and looking, feeling empowered when I walk in my clothes, right? So I'm going to be definitely screenshotting some of those photos of her in the outfits and making sure that I have some inspo for this fall. So make sure you do the same. But guys, listen, it's good. It's getting good. It's getting good. And, in season 2, Morris Chestnut pops up. And I don't know if you know anything about Morris Chestnut, the best man. Woo. He's in the new season. So let's get excited. Let's get ready for season 2. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this recap. Do me a favor, like this video, send this video to other people, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. But until then, guys, have a great day and be great. Bye, y'all.